everyone backstage here is rich and famous. I'm like, I'm going to go out and meet somebody. And I'm totally nervous. I walk out of the pipe and drape. The first person standing in front of me is Alanis Morsette. So I said, you're doing some stuff with like orchestras and symphonies, and like I'm a string player. I could do any of the string arrangements for you. And here's my business card. And she's like, I don't have any pockets. So she was actually blowing me off, like, yeah, whatever. The guy next
She got one hand in her pocket. She even wrote about it. She's a fucking liar.
The dress she had on, she didn't have any pockets. So the guy next to him was just like, I'll take that, bang. I didn't think anything of it. And that's the guy who called me to be a part of Kevin Costner's band.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Siobhán Cronin. Welcome back to another episode of 2020'd. I'm here with Benny Goodman and Cory Peza. Don't forget to like and subscribe, 2020-d.com. Click on the links wherever they are. But back this week for part 2, my dear friend Roddy Chong from Trans-Siberian Orchestra.
Roddy Chong
has played with Shania Twain, Celine Dion, Kevin Costner, all of the famous people that you can think of. It has an incredible story. Also super passionate about motivating
Shania
people.
Twain.
So he has a lot of great things to say. He has a lot of great tips to give to people that have a big dream in this one.
Yeah, and he's gearing up for the Trans-Siberian Orchestra tour, which is going on probably right now while you're listening to this.
So definitely check out those dates to see Roddy on the road.
You'd probably say after listening to all that,
that's a great name for a show, Roddy on the Road. That should be his podcast right there.
You'd probably say after listening to all of his accolades, that doesn't impress me much, but it does.
Right on. We'll dive right into it. Part 2 with Roddy Chong. Check it out.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're here with Roddy Chong, the craziest violinist. He comes in from the left, from the right. He's Chinese, but he's all over the fucking place. And I'll tell you right now, he's not only inspirational, he's perspirational. He runs from here to there. Shania Twain, Celine Dion, they can't keep him under wraps. That's why he's with Trans-Siberian Orchestra, with the fire and all the crazy stuff. Tchaikovsky, tell us what's going on.
Yes.
Wow.
Energy
transfers, Ben. I got all riled up. I'm out of breath just even listening to you.
That's good. You know what's funny, Benny? I saw my first episode and I texted Siobhán. I think I used the word genius.
You did. I told Ben, I said, Roddy paid you a very big compliment, by the way. Even though he's not coming on our podcast, he said you were.
He didn't do his research. Genius. Yeah, stupidity can often be fooled for genius. Yes, I know.
Well, certainly the ability to go for it and put on a show. You know, you've got that, and that's something.
I will burn in flames for you. No problem. All day
that's
long.
Something that performers need to be able to have a career. You know, I don't know who
eat
all
the proverbial shit in front of the entire audience as they wince while I read The Great Gatsby one word at a time.
Even that's interesting. You know, if you do it dramatically. So. You know, that's interesting because we were talking in the other episode, and Siobhán knows this, that string players get all bent out of shape over other string players, and it's really wrong. It's the wrong way to go. Like, if you feel that, you're like, that person's playing out of tune. Let's just talk about Lindsey Stirling for a second. You know, this is a very good example. So when I first heard of and saw, I just was like, this looks like a person who's having fun, and they're doing it in their style. And I saw some video was like crystallized or something, had at the time like 90 million views. I'm like, whatever she's doing, people love it, right? So that's kind of what I thought. I started hearing other string players just criticizing the heck out of her. Out of tune, don't like her dancing, all this kind of stuff. And I was just like, that is just the wrong attitude, because we're all trying to be ourselves, yet kind of be a performer, move up in progress in all of this. And it was interesting too, because sometimes Lindsey would hire string players. I would see some string players that had criticized her a couple years before, totally next to her, you know, in the Instagram, because that's gonna, you know, and people criticize Trans-Siberian Orchestra too. And I think once you want to criticize, just don't do it. Just make something in your own life better. Make a great post. create something. But I think it's this dysfunctional thing that when you criticize somebody, it like makes you feel like you're a little bit better than them because you somehow logically came up with something that you pointed out that you could say that this thing's not good, you know?
Roddy, I feel like you just totally explained the subtext for Ghostbusters too, because if you remember that movie, there's all this ooze around the ectoplasm around the city, and everyone's getting angry at each other, and it's because all this negative energy is around them. So what do they have to do? They have to go to the Statue of Liberty, obviously a badass righteous sign, and they have to go and get a Nintendo controller, which is obviously happiness. And what do? They blast happy music at New York. And what happens? What happens? All the ectoplasm, all the evil over New York City starts to go away. And that's kind of the truth, because all these people, it's all the hate that they have. It's a projection. It's just a projection of ectoplasm all over New York. And really what we need is Bill Murray to come down and just, with his Nintendo controller, drive into the library, the Statue of Liberty.
Yes, I'm tracking with you. So once all the ectoplasm, that's the negative stuff, right? Once that's all gone, everybody in New York, every single person has a chance now, the freedom to become a superstar.
If you're singing Marvin Gaye and clapping in the street, you know what I mean? It starts to go away. It fades away.
Yes.
I totally agree. And to add on to that, yeah, I mean, we're going back to the Lindsey Stirling example, so many people that haven't had to build a brand or put in the amount of work, forget the violin playing. Just look at what it takes to do all that video, to write songs, to go into production. There's so many string players that I know still that have never done a recording session or don't know what it's like to write something original. And I these are things I'm still learning. But, even if you take the violin playing out of it, so many people underestimate the amount of work and blood, sweat, and tears that goes into just building that thing that you envisioned. So it's amazing that you say that. I totally agree. People have to really rethink their attitudes.
Well, in fact, just do the opposite. You're not going to feel like it, but be like, she's awesome. That's awesome. I love that. I don't know what she's doing, but that's cool, because it brings that kind of vibe into your own life.
Yeah.
Like when I'm commenting on stuff, I'll be like just positive all the time. Like that is something clever, but basically it's all saying like, you're awesome. That's the greatest. But I'm kind of talking to myself that whole time.
Well, when you go into a club, you have to AMOG them. It's what they call it. So you have to go up to all the guys around the hot girls, but you make friends with them. You don't look at the hot girls. You talk to their ugly friends. You go talk to their friends. You go talk to the guy who's like huge, and you're thinking he's with them. And you're like, dude, you're cool, man. And then by the end of the night, everyone's talking to you. You got to realize who the actual target is and how you get the flies, not with the honey, but with just talking to their friends.
I know about AMOGing. I've done it. Siobhán's like...
You're a natural, aren't you, Roddy? I know you are.
I'm not a natural. I had to learn from those who are naturals. I did. And that's kind of how people are successful also outside of that realm of the PUA world.
He likes to soul gaze with girls. He's like, let me look in your eyes for 5 seconds. I can see your soul.
Palm read. Do a palm reading. No, but to be able to be more successful, you have to learn what are the actual techniques that work from people that are actually...
Hold on, can we try a trick on Siobhán? Siobhán, think of a number between 1 and 10.
But Roddy was about to...
between 1 and 10.
Okay.
Think of a number.
Okay.
Do you have it?
Yeah.
Is it 7?
No.
We lost. Sorry. 70% of the time it actually is 7. And then if it's not 7, I say, well, we just didn't connect. Let's try it again.
I knew Benny and I were different, but kind of brothers. Yeah.
Well, anyway, Roddy was onto an amazing thought that now, hopefully your memory is better than mine, but I got derailed. So you were talking about successful people. So the principle applies to success too. Adopting certain...
One thing you're kind of bringing up is just, to be successful, there's not just the talent aspect. Like, that just kind of gets you in the door. It's, the way you talk and the way that most of the people we talk to that are extremely successful, it's all personality and interconnecting with people. And I guess, you said in the last episode that you want to help people and help our listeners, and please help us the best you can. But, so why don't you just talk a little bit about your... observations maybe about where people might go wrong when trying to enter in not just the music industry but business and interpersonal relationships in general.
Yeah. My brain just went 5 different directions of where I could go in answering that question. one of them is that, I play violin because that's what I was trained to do at the age of 2, but I actually don't consider myself, all about the violin. It's that I'm a performer. Mm-hmm. So I actually get criticized from other string players, and it kind of hurts my feelings, actually. So I'm not made of Teflon. It's like I'll have 300 people say that's awesome, and one person is just like, maybe if you jumped a little higher, your intonation would be better. And then I'm trying to I don't even know what to say, so I don't.
I'll tell you exactly what to say. I've been called better. I've been called worse by better. That's my favorite line ever. I've been called worse by better, and that's what do you say to that? Like, dude, you're not gonna get me angry. Like, I've been called worse by better. Tell me something I don't know.
See,
you can't hurt me.
Well, what I do is I either say nothing, which is probably the best thing to do, or I say, thanks. Thanks. Because any interaction is just going to bring me down to the wrong path. I'm trying to, I know what, does he not know that I know when I'm slightly out of tune? But I was also running around a garage full of Ferraris trying to impress Tommy Lee. That's what was going on. And I'm trying, the people in the room were all rich people. I'm trying to perform or speak at their events. So that's what's really going on. I can't explain that to the guy, the person that's commenting. And so a couple things there, it actually, I am affected. So I'm going to admit that, but that also is what gives me access, that I'm an open person, so that I'm able to have an effect on people, but that also they're going to have an effect on me. So that's what that I'm bothered by it a little bit. I don't do anything about it, which is good. After a few hours, I'm over it. But by being affected, we can be affectable. We can kind of have more impact with people. People say all the time to me, you're the real deal. I don't know what they're talking about, but there's a realness. And if I was really great at being snarky and sarcastic, and I could just really, go toe to toe with these toxic people, I'm just not in that world. I don't relate to that. So I'm in a different dimension, and it's a little bit of inspiration and positivity and all that stuff, which sometimes seems actually kind of weak. It seems kind of weak to people, but I like it. It helps me sleep better. I can go for things that I want to go for. And some of those things have actually come true. And those things were totally outlandish. And I don't know, it doesn't matter what age someone is. It's just if they are just going for that and trying to get to that idea that they had, things can actually happen, but it's not going to happen by being sarcastic and snarky and criticizing, and that it's got to be the other vibes, and those vibes sometimes seem weak, but they're inspiring positivity.
But I'm curious, but why do you allow these things to affect you? Because you have, you should know this, you only have so much mental bandwidth. You've even said in the show that you can't answer all the questions that come to your mind. So why are you appropriating any mental bandwidth to anyone saying that you're not good, when A, you're good, 2, your job is to instill confidence in others by showing that you're confident, and we also know that you're really good. So the most important thing is, at the end of the day, is being able to look yourself in the mirror and believing what you're actually selling. So by allowing somebody else in, aren't you questioning what you're trying to sell, and why should I buy that brand now?
Yeah, I don't know the exact, to me it's the scientific thing. I think it's the amygdala part of the brain, that there's a fight or flight kind of thing, and then these people that I don't totally really know that well, even on Facebook, that's my tribe, and then that one person's kind of you suck, and and I
so you have to have it go over to the basal ganglia, so it goes to the autonomic nervous system, so therefore you can then just bypass it. It's like breathing.
Dr. Benny just went off. But no,
it's
there's
probably not scientific.
Well, I do think
don't take any of the prescriptions.
Yeah, he can't write prescriptions. But I think that's what it is. I think it's more of actually the scientific part. And you know what? I don't know. You're East Coast, right?
Yes.
You guys are all. People from Long Island. I know Michael Sweet from Boston, the lead singer Striper. All those guys are so good with. I'm just gonna zing this guy, and they're so funny. I don't know. I think part of it is the way that I grew up. up, my parents' English was a second language, so sarcasm was never used. It was just kind of like, this is what I'm saying, and I'm saying it with broken English, so sometimes I didn't even know what they were talking about.
So you realize that deep dish pizza is not actually pizza, right? Like, that's just a joke?
Lumalnatis is like,
I love Lumalnatis. That's like literally like if you want to not go anywhere for 7 days, just eat one piece of Lumalnatis with like a fork and a knife and put some butter on it.
That's right. Lumalnatis is my favorite. So yeah, but it's a good question. I was just kind of saying it's a cultural thing too. Like Michael Sweet's so good at, and he makes me laugh at how he sings in his own fans, and he likes to do that. I just think that there's some kind of a giftedness that I have by admitting that it does affect me. It doesn't make me doubt my brand. I think that's part of my brand, that I'm sensitive, and so that, yes, I can get and receive all the great rewards, the good stuff. If something's toxic coming my way, I'm glad that I have the sensitivities that I have, and I try to just kind of move away from it. But no, it's just the way that I am. I think I'll get better at it. If it was to bother me for more than 24 hours, I think that would be problematic, and maybe that's how it was when I was younger. But I'm kind of glad, because I've had things in my life that was a bit. It's just not logical, but I felt like something was kind of leading me to, like the whole Celine Dion thing, how I got to work with her was all from sensitivities and just going with vibes and trying and striving and things not making sense. But so I have this navigational thing, and I think that if I was like, had the Teflon and it doesn't bother me, then I might not have those sensitivities, also kind of get those leadings to kind of try this or try that.
Yeah.
So you think you're emotional intelligence?
Well, intuitive. I think having that sort of intuition can certainly help guide you in a lot of ways.
Get this, that guy that said the comment, he went on, because I said, thanks, man. I said his name. And then he clarified. Also, he did. He's like, also, obviously your audience doesn't care about intonation or being in tune. They just care about your show-off antics. So you're doing a great job. So it's like he's double. Yeah. So this is my heart is I actually want to help this guy. He's a violinist and he's doing this thing at a wedding. And it's totally boring. And, I wanted to say all these insults, but I also I actually want to help the guy. I'm like, dude, you're killing yourself by not letting me help you. Like, I have a lot of contacts,
Sure, yeah. But, Roddy, you're super inspiring, and I love your positivity. And I'll say, just the first time that I met you and over the years getting to know you, you've always been the person that's like smiling and happy and like super responsive. Like, you don't feel like I never feel like you're ignoring me, or people don't feel like you're just like shooing them away. You've always been really receptive and open, which is amazing. And I can see totally how that has helped you build a great career. And I think maybe since we didn't fill in some of the gaps since part one, can we talk a little bit about how you kind of got into some of these really big name gigs? Because there, at a certain point, you mentioned, what happened with your first band. You told a story about, or maybe you were going to tell the story about how you got fired from that band.
The one band that you were in that wasn't a big deal, Jars of Clay. Who cares about those dudes?
Yeah, but I love these stories because I feel like those are often turning points.
I'm just saying, fuck those guys for firing you. The best thing they ever did was fire you, because look at who you are now.
Yeah, so I want to hear about like what happened from high school Roddy and college Roddy to getting into acting and dancing and all this other stuff. How did you?
You
what
molded
happened
your
from
own
there?
clay.
Yeah.
Well, look, the Jars of Clay guys are actually awesome. The difficult thing was management. So what happened with Jars? Literally, I'm driving around in my Chevy Cavalier that my dad had given me, and I'm hitting the seek button on the radio, and I came across this song, Flood, by Jars of Clay. There's a violin in there. So it kind of made me pull the violin out from under the bed, take the dust off of it, and just try to copy what I heard. And that was a transition away from sheet music and the orchestra and the Suzuki stuff. And like I said, I have all these sensitivities, and I had a friend named Becca, and I'm always reaching out to people. I'm an extrovert, or I behave extrovertedly, and my friend had moved from Louisville to Nashville. Her name was Becca, and we're talking. Literally, this is what happens. She's like, I asked her how Nashville's going. She said, Nashville's going great, except there's this guy that keeps asking me out. I don't really want to go out with him, and he has some claim to fame that he produced a Jars of Clay CD or something like that. And I heard her say that. She had no idea that it was like happening right at the same month. And I'm like, Becca, you have to go out with that guy. I want to tour with that band. I mean, that's literally what happened, right? So if I did,
for the team.
She did, and she went out with him and talked about me, the guy in the suburbs, Roddy Chong, and then that guy liked this girl so much that he spoke to Jars of Clay management, and then the timing was great. Jars of Clay played at the Double Door, and they had seen video of me playing those songs, and they brought me on the tour, and so it was the first time of Bus and Itinerary, and Matchbox 20 was opening for us, which was their first tour, which was amazing to watch them then take off.
Sure.
But what happened there was that something was communicated. So I do share this during my speaking presentations because I share my story, and I'm thankful that I have this story that's kind of a depressing bummer of being let go of something that you really wanted to be a part of. But I get to hear, because you guys are musicians, and I want to be a little bit more, like the story's a lot shorter when I share it at a corporation. But, there's like a manager, and then there's people around the manager. And I didn't know any better. Like, I totally was just like, yes, sir, to everybody. And I know Siobhán. Siobhán's a lot like that too, and you start to lose yourself as you're trying to please everybody else, right? So one of the people that was next to this manager was talking to me, and this person's got all this bravado, just because he's working with bands or whatever, he thinks he's cool. And he said to me, hey, look, this first tour goes great. You gotta, this is what we're gonna pay you, and we're gonna pay you more if you do well in this first tour. And I'm like thinking, I'm still trying to negotiate for whatever reason. And, and he spoke out of place, and he goes, look, the lead singer said this is the way it's going to be. And so then I got scared. Oh my gosh, I'm not talking to management anymore. I'm talking to the lead singer. Forget me negotiating. I want to do it. And then I went right to the lead singer when I went to rehearsals, and I'm just like, I'm so sorry. It sounded like I didn't want to do the job. I totally want to do the job. And, they said that, that you kind of were putting your foot down, and you don't have to be that way with me. I just want to work with you. And he was totally mad. He's just like, I never said anything like that. They can't use my name like that, So it's interesting that, but see, what happened was that put a seed in me, in my heart, that I'm just like, ooh, they kind of lied to me, And when the tour ended, they were going to pay me the same amount. I kind of like wanted to document things, and I made a letter that kind of said, this is what happened, this is what was told to me, and this is what I should be getting. And that was a wrong move. I mean, it's very similar to some kind of an email that you send.
I can totally imagine some tour manager in a rock, like, dude, this is fucking rock and roll. Like, we pay you in Budweiser. Like, if you get laid, you're lucky. Like, that's what you get. Like, you're fucking... You're writing it down. Like, we don't even know what time the guest meeting is today. Like, you're telling me at 3:07 you didn't like my look? Fuck you.
Very much so. I mean, not not that far, but yeah, like I actually had like newspaper clippings where it said things like, the violinist, Roddy Chong, was a great addition, the best thing that happened. So I put those in the, I'm like kind of saying, hey, I have some value here. The management was they were just like, you think you're hot stuff, huh? You think, and I'm just like, no, I was just trying to show that I have some value, like innocently, truly. But the reason why the letter or email is a bad idea now, I would never do it, is they weren't able to read my vibe, right? They just thought I was being this ungrateful,
disingenuous,
or whatever. And I was young and I was kind of being passive aggressive by not being assertive and just talking to the person, right? So I see where I went wrong. They just saw me as a non-team player and let me go, and it really, really, put me into a really dark time, because getting a job with a national act is a 1 in a million shot, and so that's what happened. And I see, like, remember, did you all see Mandalorian? Did you guys all see that?
I did not.
Okay. Well, there's an actor, I forgot her last name, but I think her name was the same name in Mandalorian, and her name was her real name, Kara or something like that.
Yeah, She was an MMA fighter, right? Before.
Yeah. I mean, she was a superstar. She had this charisma that was unexplainable. She's just a favorite character, and she posted some unfortunate things on her social media, and and I'm just like, this is very similar. When you make just the wrong move and you can't recover from it. But when that happened to me, I was more like in my young 20s. You don't want to be making these mistakes later. So I saw what happened with her, because they were going to make an entire, so every character Mandalorian gets their own series on Disney. And I'm just like,
Gina Carano or something like that was her name.
Right.
Yeah.
And I just felt for her, because I'm just like, I know what she's doing. She thinks she's right. She's not, but she thinks she's right, and she's just innocently doing this. And, the best thing is just to do your work. And, if you need to talk to someone, talk privately to them about it. And but you want to be able to continue working and continue, and I feel for her. I would have liked to have seen her. She would have had a whole series on Disney, and but I see other creative people do this thing. You got to get it out of your system, hopefully earlier, so that because I never talk to people like I did, like that. Like if I have an issue with something with Trans-Siberian Orchestra, I go straight to management and talk it out. But they're also a very benevolent group, and they're very for me. Whereas that happened with Jars, it was kind of adversarial, and there was miscommunication. But that whole story I just told you is kind of more the real story. Whereas what I share with my speaking, it's just this very short version, and I say I was 100% wrong. I sent an unfortunate letter, and then I kind of move on into what happened and how I was scrappy and tried to get out of that situation. So
there are a lot of intricacies to the story, and it's great that you got to tell the whole thing, because I can see how stuff like that happens, and thank you for sharing that.
It's reminiscent of a story that we heard from a previous guest, Jason Leckberg, of knowing your lane, like when you're dealing with different people, and knowing in what situation where you have what options and what power and all that dynamic and stuff, and how that is important to navigating the professional world in general, right?
And I can tell you the proof of concept. So I'll tell you the proof of concept. So one, you are so tremendous in everything that I've heard about you in the last 90 minutes. And you came on the show because of me. That's what you said. So this is what I've learned, is that all you need to do is start a podcast where you just rant at people, and you get to cut off these amazing people, and then you just have your own forum, and you don't have to leave your house. You don't have to go anywhere, and you can just always be right. And if not, you just sign off. And I feel like that there's some vindication, because I've met so many people, from Mark Tremonti to Miles Kennedy, who's one of my favorite singers in the fucking world, and Bumblefoot. We were talking, he sang for Asia, and he's playing guitar just for us. Nuno Betancourt, me and Cory's favorite guitarist of all time, is like, guys, stay up for one more song. We're like, okay. So I feel like that all you need to do is just make up your own confabulated world, which, by the way, is just a fancy word for your brain makes up for why this is. And for this, it's me, 2020. This is my mind.
What is the point of this point?
How did you turn this into being about you?
I got the point. I am living out my own confabulation. Don't know the word means, but I know that you know the vibe of the word.
I'm getting conversion from this.
Yes, I am living out my confabulation of my existence and trying to get to that next thing. So, I mean, I do have more stories of how I did things in the past, but I said during the break to Benny, I think, or Cory, that we have to still be working on stuff now and today, and not just be kind of.
So give us the story from today. Give us a story that you can, because Marcus Buckingham, another great speaker, says every day you either add value or take value away from your life. You never leave it neutral. So when you go to bed, you either had a bad day or you had a good day. It was never a nothing day, because that's a bad day. So what was today like for you, Roddy?
Marcus Buckingham, very impressive. He the strengths guy. Do you know Marcus? Have you read some of his stuff?
I've seen him live many a time.
Yeah, I've seen him live too.
He's a great orator.
Yes, he kind of did a lot.
Are you strategic? You're a human. You're a very human, like, you're a relationship guy. Did you go through all those different sets that he?
Yes, I've been through all the strengths.
I want to know where our Venn diagram crosses. But where did you add value today? Did you add value? Did you take value away?
Well,
what would Marcus say?
Well, as far as what I would be talking about more is what has happened this year. And one of the things that I would say, just for people listening, is try to get near people that are more successful, people that have more money that could pay you for your services. So I can't really come up with something that would be great for today, but I can say, besides I got the workout in, or these things that are all these small things that all add up and they compound to bigger things later. But I can talk about last weekend. I did a speaking event in Jersey, flew in from Philadelphia, got in at midnight, and I was invited to this car show, and I didn't want to go because it's over an hour away. It's kind of far. And then my friend David Lee, who was putting on, he's like, well, Tommy Lee's going to be there. I'm waking up, I'm going to go. And so I love Tommy Lee because I love Motley Crue and I love that era. So yeah, I kind of want to meet him and know him, but I also want to meet the people that are around David, who invited me, he's famous. Because he has one of the better exotic car collections in the North America. So I'm proud that I still got up, at 5 a.m. and then drove over there and then put on my extroverted self, talking and shaking hands. I might not feel like, and then it was David's birthday. So I'm like, I'm going to play a couple songs. So went into his they call it a stable, where all the cars are, all the Ferraris are. And like, I'm rehearsing, I'm stretching down there. I'm checking out the floor. I've got my little Bose speaker and I'm practicing this track, and I know my songs I'm going to play. And, and then I'm going to go for it. It's not my ideal, I would like more rehearsal. I would not the ideal stage, but this is the audience, this is the stage. And I would say that it was a big success, and, we'll see if those seeds grow into something, something bigger. But that's something I'm trying to show value to David. These people that have a lot of money, I can speak at their
What's the song? What song did you play? What was your elevator pitch for your song? When you have Tommy Lee watching you, like, what's he going to play? Well, what's the song you break out?
The song or anything that you do has to have a lot of energy. So to play something that's sonorous and melodious and beautiful is not necessarily the right song. When there's a group, you got to get them clapping along, or excited. So I have a go-to. It's the Mozart Figaro, the Trans-Siberian Orchestra version. And then I have a fiddle piece, Toss the Feathers by the Coors. And those do both things. The first one is, the guy that I talked about that was kind of criticizing me. I mean, he was kind of right. It's like the showboating and the showing off. That's the way I play, and that's what people like. And I guess what I'm trying to say though too is it's not just that you're trying to meet a famous person. I went through that. I did that a lot, but that you do want to get near those people, to be the people that are next to them are decision makers. So you want to show value. Now in my world, it's a little bit, if I only show the violin part, then it's back to the only violin kind of a thing. But right away I'm talking and I'm sharing that I'm a speaker and I'm a corporate speaker. And so I have a pitch about that. And I do it all the time, often. And sometimes those turn into speaking gigs. So, but those are the two songs that I did. I think in the past I've messed up by playing something that's really nice. Play something from Phantom of the Opera or something, and so my vibrato and I sound in tune and it's beautiful, but it can get a little boring. So you want to be the opposite of boring. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I love Mozart. He's got a case of the notes. Siobhán knows. I brought her to a billionaire's house who had a bunch of Ferraris in a room too. And I was like, play the fastest thing you know. And what did he do? He put it on his Instagram. Glenn Hughes from Deep Purple's like, this is amazing. The mayor's like, oh, that's great. Siobhán's like, who are these people? I'm like, exactly.
Well, that's one thing I'll say about you, Ben, that you and Roddy have a lot in common. I mean, you're very good at doing that, of surrounding yourself with people that, and I agree, like, the group that you surround yourself with may eventually grow into the people that you live your life with in a lot of ways, that are giving you work, that's your social circle. And that's great advice. Absolutely.
I'll say one thing: to get near people that are like at a higher level than where you're at. We're talking if we're just measuring money only, like people that have tens of millions of dollars, is just never complain. That's the whole thing. Just never.
Literally, the guy behind this show has way more than tens of millions of dollars. In fact, he compares his worth to other people's worth all the time. And I complain to him every day, all day.
You are the outlier. You're the exemption from everything. Somehow you don't fit any of the rules. I don't know how that works.
When I call my friends, like Ernie Bach, he's a billionaire. He picks up his phone like first, like, Betty! Like I'm in my Mazda. Like, what's that? It's my $1 million Ferrari. It has no roof. Why are you picking up your phone? It's you. What do you want? I don't know why he picks up, but he picks up.
We're on the same page because you already have that established relationship somewhere. But if you went up to him and you didn't know him and you're just complaining about COVID the whole time, he'd be like, I really don't want to hang out with this guy.
Oh, he didn't know me for 10 years.
Right, but the reason why he likes you is the same reason why I like you, is because you have this energy that pops. And people want to be around energy. So you're not really, even in your complaining, even in Benny's complaining, he's got a lot of power and energy, that mixes with the rock and roll. People want to be around that. So I guess what I'm talking about is if you're going to, most people can't complain with a lot of great positive energy like you.
Yeah, that's true.
People complain.
Don't feed the animals. Stop it.
They commiserate.
I've heard plenty of complaining, but I'm not rich, so he doesn't care.
Although, no, you gave me the best Cory gave me the best compliment ever. So Cory and I were hanging out at one of these like fancy schmancy parties. He got a little bit drunk and he's like in the bathroom and he's having a transparent moment where he's actually being sensitive.
The story changes every time I hear it too, so I'm looking forward to this one.
Yeah, so he's a little bit drunk. He's like, listen, man, I don't know. You're not that good at that many things, but like you're somehow,
that sounds right.
Somehow you're good at like talking to people.
Somehow in all of that, the listeners got what they needed out of that, because there was a lot of different, all saying the same things, but it sounded different. I truly believe, like, just don't complain. Just be that shining positive, because someone who's super positive, it's almost, people just, it's so easy to make fun of that person. But people that maybe they have children, or they're people that are able to make decisions, they want people like that kind of around. They want the positive vibes, or the fun vibes. But they don't want the complaining. And people complain a lot. It's just the go-to. And, people that are successful, look, I've got some success. If you're complaining, I'm going to probably just kind of...
Listen, I'm the guy that used to work at Circuit City, and I turn on all the stereos at 5 o'clock in the morning, and I play the final countdown as loud as possible through all the 5.1 surround sound systems simultaneously, because I figured out how to daisy chain them. Like, I was that guy. So believe me, I understand. I totally get it.
I love it. Circuit City. Did you read the book Good to Great?
I did. No, but I did read one, I think it was 1 Hour Manager or something like that. Like, people don't quit companies, people quit people.
Well, Good to Great is by Jim Collins, and he does talk about Circuit City in there, which they were a great company until they stopped.
Until Rome burned. I was there when I was on the mountain playing fiddle next to Nero as the conflagration that was Rome. I saw that from Circuit City, and Best Buy was over there laughing, not realizing Amazon was behind them like a velociraptor.
Mm-hmm. I feel ya.
Oh my gosh. Well, while we're on a roll with giving, advice or inspirational talk to people that might be listening, how to build your life. Let's go back to, so after you kind of lost this gig with the band, you said you were sort of in a dark place. Not to go to the past. I know we're trying to avoid that, but
no. You're harsh and I'm mellow, Siobhán.
Sorry,
Positive
but
vibes only.
I'm interested to hear what happened, because I feel like a lot of transformations happen after moments like that. So can you maybe talk about what happened and how you sort of changed your life? Where like, what direction did you go from there? How did you get yourself back on track?
Yeah, I really jumped into all that motivational stuff, the Tony Robbins, the CDs, and any kind of a book on business or self-improvement, any of the whatever, how to win friends and influence people. I just was like, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know how to do this. I obviously screwed up something that was in my lap. So, and then I just kind of did what the book said, and it kind of ended up working out. So from there, like I was saying, with my sensitivities, I went to Nashville, and I'm like, I'm just going to meet a couple people and just see what can happen. Like, I have to meet somebody to get something going. But on the way to that goal is when I heard a song by Celine Dion. It's called To Love You More. And I just started crying. There was a violin in it, and I didn't know who it was by, but I went into Tower Records in Nashville, and I tried to sing the song to the cash register guy. And I'm just like, oh, I'm like singing this whole thing and that like really loud and he took me seriously. He's like, I think that's Celine Dion. And so we found the song. It was called To Love You More. And that's where I got that signal. I'm just like, I love this song. And when I heard the song and I was crying in the car, I had something in my heart that said, someday you're going to play that song with that girl that you just heard on the radio. Someday you're going to play that song with that girl that you just heard on the radio. So within my despair, I kind of had this direction, and that's where I met people in Nashville. Nothing happened still, but I was like learning this song, but then I'm kind of skipping a story here. But then I heard about the Shania Twain audition, did that audition, but through Shania is how I met Celine's husband, actually. And then so this whole thing that came from like a dark place, I had like a little glimpse of inspiration to happen, and then so that thing, I just kind of focused on that, and it ended up coming true. So I was able to tour with Shania and Celine at the same time during that time.
Yeah.
So
you think David Foster sitting there going, obviously, I wrote that shit. I could even write it under Junior Miles and no one gives a shit. It's like Stephen King writing Thinner under Richard Bachman. He's like, it's still a number one because I'm awesome. You knew that, right? Junior Miles, David Foster. It's always David Foster. He's the guy that takes the guys that play horns in Chicago and says, play keyboard.
Yeah.
Yeah. so I guess my question
hit in
is
Japan, by the way, biggest international hit in history, by the way, from 1.5 million copies because it was on a show.
Yeah, it's wild.
Celine Dion.
Yeah. So let me ask you this for practical advice for, let's say there's somebody that has an idea of their direction or their dream, but they haven't really landed the first gig or gotten the first big break or something. What's your advice to someone like that? Is it to go to the place where they feel like all the other people doing that sort of thing are there, like geographically? Or like what would be the first step to somebody that's trying to achieve that?
So I got two answers for that question. One is just out of what I did, and that might not be right for everyone, but I would just surge every once in a while. Like one time I wanted to work for U2. And I just flew to New York, and I knew that they were going to be at this theater, and I just waited outside, and I had like a VHS of me playing Sunday Bloody Sunday, and like I just stalked it and waited it, and I ended up giving it to the Edge. So that I didn't get to play with them, but that was a huge victory. So I like totally surged, just go crazy, and just be like, oh, I know this is, just get over there and just try to meet that person. And there's something about when you're trying to bend reality that it's just living life to the full. So
I love that.
Yeah, you just go for it, friggin' go for it. The other thing is there's a very popular book out right now called Atomic Habits by James Clear. Okay. And that has a ton of strategies on how to just get better at what your craft is. And what we're talking about is how do you kind of get to the opportunity. So any tiny thing matters. So just do those tiny little things. You don't have to have this whole thing where I meet the president of the company and the dinner that we're at is perfect. I mean, that's probably not going to happen. But can you call somebody that's the assistant? It's still going to take some courage to talk to that person. And if that person blows you off, still a victory. I made the call, talked to the person, awkwardly said what I do and how I could serve this band or whatever. But actually that's still a big one. So I'm saying whatever is even smaller, clean your desk so that you feel like more professional, prepare yourself, but then any little tiny thing, it can actually lead to something. And I think that most people go, why, what's the use? No one's going to hear from me. I'm in Iowa, especially with the internet now, people can hear about you, and people are looking for, talents, like Trans-Siberian Orchestra is a good match for me because I grew up on rock and roll and metal, and I didn't know there was a band doing that also kind of wanted some classical music. That's a little rudimentary. It's not the most complex thing, and thank God, because I'm more of a fundamental kind of a guy that I just basic playing with rock and roll, and then it was a place for me, but I didn't know that it existed. I think there are opportunities out there. So I would also suggest that people don't focus on one thing. Like I hear a lot of people go, I am going to sing or play guitar in Trans-Siberian Orchestra, and I'm like, it's a little too specific. Just say that you want to get to the bigger bands that are playing arenas, and whatever, you could go for 10 different bands, and those opportunities open up. Like Bon Jovi needed a bass player, Metallica needed a bass player. I guess I'm saying play bass.
Everyone is bass players.
I want to hear about something you told us about something earlier, and I want to know about this moment that you got stuck in that you couldn't get out of. So you said there's been times where instead of going for Figaro, the hedgehog, by the way, he's a hedgehog that Siobhán owns named Figaro.
That's the name of my hedgehog, yeah.
Yes, but instead of going for Figaro, let's say you went for Halo by Beyonce instead. You went mellow, and it didn't translate because people don't, let's say, have, highbrow taste in music. When did that not land? Like, when did you go for Halo instead of doing the Figaro, and people weren't clapping and they're just like, this guy's boring?
That's a great question. So when I do my speaking events, I knew when things were popping, when the audience was reacting by laughing or any kind of an emotional reaction, and I knew when they were checked out, going into their phones, or literally kind of like, I'm going to go leave now. So I just learned whatever I did that wasn't popping, just delete it. Just everything has to, like, I used to think like, well, I want to have things that are good and then maybe not so great, to have this variety. But no, just have it be like good. Any of the lower points, just kind of get rid of them. And
That's why Shania Twain brought the Dixie Chicks to open, so they could suck, so that all of her songs sound better anyway.
Well, I don't know if that ever actually really happened, but what she would do actually is she would always have Canadians open for her to give them a shot.
Celine Dion would murder her. I'm sorry.
Well, I think
Alanis is pretty good too.
Alanis
and Vanilla Ice.
Okay, so two things that I'm riffing off of Benny. So
I'm sorry.
How I actually, a secret that I'm sharing with you guys is how I became a good speaker was not by studying speakers. I already sourced it from acting school, but then I kept it going by studying comedians. Because I watched
1,000,000%.
They've got a mic and they're commanding an audience by themselves. That's what a speaker does. So my favorite would probably be Chris Rock, and I saw what he was doing. He never has a lull. It's just like a machine gun of just great jokes and power and laughs. Bang, 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 boom. Bigger, 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 bigger. And so that's what I learned as far as a cadence. And I got rid of the boring things and the sonorous things where I sound so beautiful in the violin. I'm like, you know what? Yeah, in certain settings with candlelight, but in this situation, these people want to be thrilled, entertained, and inspired, and they want to be moved. And in order to move them, you got to get them moving, you got to get them clapping, you got to play the upbeat stuff. And that's where I figured it out. But I wanted to say real quick that I was with Shania backstage, and so you got to understand, all of these creative people are so insecure, so they had these rooms that were kind of roped off, what they call it pipe and drape. And so I'm sitting there, I'm sitting with my bandmates, and some guys are reading a book or whatever, and I'm just like, everyone backstage here is rich and famous. I'm like, I'm gonna go out and meet somebody. And I'm totally nervous. I walk out of the pipe and drape, the first person standing in front of me is Alanis Morsette. So I said, you're doing some stuff with like orchestras and symphonies, and like, I'm a string player, I could do any of the string arrangements for you, and here's my business card. And she's like, I don't have any pockets. So she was actually blowing me off, like, yeah, whatever. The guy next
to her, she got one hand in her pocket. She even wrote about it. She's a fucking liar.
The dress she had on, she didn't have any pockets. So the guy next to them was just like, I'll take that, bang. I didn't think anything of it. And that's the guy who called me to be a part of Kevin Costner's band.
No shit.
That guy, the security guy for Alanis 10 years later, was the tour manager for Kevin Costner. They had an issue with their violinist. I told you string players are these these dysfunctional people.
Cantankerous
Hey,
individuals.
I'm not in that category.
Yes, we are, Siobhán. But something happened with their violinist, and he's like, you know what? I met this guy, and he had the actual card. He actually called my old number from Chicago and then tracked me down to California. So,
wow.
That's amazing.
That's covering Siobhán's question too. You know, what can people do? Is you just gotta go for it. You know, it's just, you feel like complete idiot. You know, just go for it, and.
But on top of that, too, having that positive attitude, like, you sometimes forget that people around you might be paying attention. And I think this is something you do really well, is like, you never know who's in the room, right? So even though you might be focusing on one person, there might be a lot of people around that person that are also looking at you that you don't realize, you know? So that's a perfect example of that.
Yeah. And not just let them have your contact information, but you got to get theirs. And that's something that I kind of learned later. And then follow up, and it's uncomfortable. Just follow up. Like,
you know, it's funny. I don't think either of them know this, but the person who's actually behind our band and all that, the first time I met him, I talked to I was at a record company party at 17, and I was like all nervous. I'm wearing my one leather jacket. I thought I was cool. I'm talking to all these people. And at the end of the night, he came and introduced himself to me because his like people that had vetted me thought that I was cool, and then like I ignored him all night, and he gave me his card, and then he invited me out to lunch at this super swanky restaurant. And I remember calling my friend who brought me to the party being like, I can't afford this place. Aren't I supposed to take this guy for lunch? He's like, he's a fucking millionaire. He's taking you out to lunch. I'm like, isn't the etiquette that I'm supposed to take him and show him? Like, no, he gave you his card so he could make you a thing. And then years later, ha ha ha, millions of dollars, and here we are. Thanks, Scott. We love you.
We love you, Scott.
Thank you, Scott.
He's like accurate.
That's right.
That was just kind of for me to him, because you brought me back to that moment, because you're absolutely right. I still have people's cards, but then now that like I'm older, I'm like, I don't even want a phone anymore. I just want to throw it all away and disconnect. I don't even want you to be able to reach me.
But you're good, Ben. You're very good at following up. Even when I first met Ben, the reason I met him is because I was playing a festival, and the guy next door was the guitar player in All That Remains, and called up Benny and said, I found a violinist for you. And within like 10 minutes, I feel like, he called me.
I was DJing a wedding. I literally put on a Michael Jackson song that was over 4 minutes, and I was like, I gotta call you. I was like, hold on, 1 second, I gotta go do a changeover. And you're like, I'm about to go on stage. I'm like, listen, there's a whole audience of people waiting for another Jackson song right now. But yeah, I called you immediately because literally Ollie had called me, and he's like, there's this amazing violinist, and she's actually thinking about working with us. I'm like, she exists? And then I called her, and she's like, yeah, I'll get on a plane and just fly there. I'm like, this must be some kind of crazy magic. And then she showed up at my door, and she was just like, I'm here to play the music. And we've been friends ever since.
True story.
Yes, and you made a podcast, 2020.
And we made a podcast. We made 3 albums, and we're all good friends. Yeah, it's wild. But yeah,
freaking 120 episodes, right? You guys are, it's amazing.
Yes, it's crazy. Yeah. We're working on it. We're still learning what to do here.
We're still getting a stride a little bit. It's one of those things where you have to dial in the narcissism and assholery, like, or more like me talking to myself, whereas how much Cory interjects versus Siobhán having the introspect. Well, I love the great thing, and you should see the arc of our episodes. It's I annoy everybody, and then Siobhán asks one introspective question, and it catches everyone off guard. They're like, oh, wow.
And I'm like, what I asked was really not that profound. But everyone,
so where are you from? Because of all my malarkey that's been going on for 25-minute like diatribe, they're like, you've asked something of some substance. Just for a moment, I want to hold on to it, and they love her.
Yes, you've got some distinct personalities on this podcast.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
It's good.
It works.
Very good. But yeah, I don't love doing podcasts, but once I saw yours, I did want to, I was like,
well, we
talking about the artists.
Well, we love having you on it. Yeah. Rowdy Roddy.
And as we, unfortunately do come near the end of our second episode, I guess
you're harshing my mellow right now. Positive vibes. This is never going to end.
Well, I just want to hear you. So it is, TSO season is approaching, and so is that just something that is all encompassing, and how does that feel for you?
That's right. It's all encompassing. I mean, I really love it. I mean, it's what I always wanted to do, right? Those rock videos, like, what's that? Wild Side, right? Motley Crue,
Yeah.
like, or whatever. The Def Leppard things where they're showing trusts moving around. I always wanted to be a part of that. I just didn't know it was going to be like 2 a day and then 9 shows a week, So, my workouts, because it's a physically demanding 2 months, the 10 months, my workouts are kind of like gearing up for this jumping around on the stage thing and trying to save my knees and everything. And we rehearse the leaders that lead us as music directors. They're Juilliard, Berkeley people. So we are going to be sitting there being perfectionists, going over the songs over and over, even though maybe we think we know them, going over, and we're going to be having masks on. So we're going to have all that protocol going on. And, we do know that it's a privilege to play arenas, and that there's fans that really love what we do. And so I'm happy because, like we were talking about, so what are you doing now? This thing allows me to say, well, this is what I'm doing now. So just that thing that can keep you going. I'm very happy and thankful that Trans-Siberian Orchestra is still there. They're still going to do the 20 trucks of gear, which is like just way over the top.
It's wild seeing it. Yeah.
Hey, Dustin, hold your beer, Star Set, with your 8 trucks at the Palladium, thinking you're all fancy schmancy.
But you do kind of. I get into this zone. Sleep is the number one thing. That's solves all problems. And there's not enough sleep, and I get a little irritable and so I have to self-check myself. You're just so mentally, emotionally drained. But what you're doing is awesome. It's going to be a little different this year. No meet and greets. No. Signing lines, and so we typically do a lot of that. So we'll see how it goes. Maybe that'll help with being able to save some of our energies for the shows. But we're planning for success. We're planning for sold out shows. We're totally keeping tabs on other tours. I'm personally looking at what's going on with Michael Bublé and Eric Church and Genesis, and and COVID has gone through some other organizations. So we're learning from that. And so this one's going to be super interesting because of the name of your podcast, 2020, and the effects of the pandemic. But thankfully, America's doing concerts right now, and hopefully they'll continue to do them. And we have a COVID specialist with us that's going to be administering tests and making sure that everything's good. And if COVID comes around, because it's already happened with some of those artists that I mentioned, that they already know and we already know what to do. So it's going to be interesting, but I think it's a big privilege to be able to bring the rock and roll holiday joy to all these people, and and I selfishly get to be a part of this multi-million-dollar production and run around in the middle of it. So every show I run around in a circle. And that's just my little thing of this is ridiculous that I get to prance around a circle, and people are like, yes, we like the Asian guy running around. So I can't wait, and the other musicians are virtuosic, and I'm inspired by them. So we're really playing. So sometimes we sound so good. People are like, that's tracks. I'm like, it's not tracks. If we have somebody makes a mistake, everybody gets to hear it. So I actually like it when we make mistakes, because it's obvious that it's live.
No, and it sounds amazing. Yeah, I mean, it really is such an incredible show, and people love it. I mean, it really is the joy of that whole 2 months. And the times that I played shows, but sitting behind you is what I looked forward to every year.
Definitely. And to bring it all around circle is our front of house guy is a guy named Dave Whitman. And Dave Whitman was one of the engineers for an album called Foreigner 4 that was produced by Mutt Lange. So that's why, at least on the East contingent, there's 2 bands. One goes west, one goes east, and I'm on the east side. Dave Whitman is our front of house, and that's why it sounds so sonically amazing in all those arenas.
Well, you could tell Dave Whitman, okay, because I talked to Miles Kennedy. the other day, and we were talking about how he writes songs. And I of course, want to tell the guy who's with Slash and Mark Tremonti, like, what you're supposed to do. And he's like, I don't know sometimes, what chorus I'm supposed to go to or this or that. I'm like, well, always go for the one that sounds the most like Foreigner. And I thought that was going to land. And he kind of looked at me. I'm like, dude, really? Like that? Because Foreigner for me is the archetype of here's a hook, here's another hook, here's the pre-chorus with the hook to the other pre-chorus with the hook, and here's the coda with the hook. And we haven't even gotten to the chorus yet. Hold my hooky beer. Because Foreigner is like some of the most genius composition and production. Enter Mutt Lange. But even before Mutt Lange and after Mutt Lange, Foreigner, that's just like, if you want it cold as ice. Yeah. Holy shit.
Yeah. I feel totally lucky, like lottery winner. I'm this Asian kind of dorky guy that played violin Suzuki, and that I get to be a part of rock and roll somehow. I'm totally thrilled, and that's why I wanted to be a part of this podcast, because I know you guys talk about all that all the time.
Well, we appreciate Roddy! And you deserve all the best in the world, because you're such a great soul and a really good friend, and so kind and so talented and motivated, and so you deserve all of the best things. I'm so super happy for you, and really happy you got to share all your stories.
Yeah, thanks for being with us.
And you guys are coming to the show, of course. We're going to make something happen there, so we'll talk about that afterwards.
Yeah, that sounds great. I will definitely love to come see you guys, and I'm sure these guys would love that too. Yeah, Ben is speechless for once.
My one question, I have one last question, because this is really, you had mentioned this. Tours sound scary, and it's not because everyone's going to die if someone gets sick. It's because maybe the tour has to end contingent on one person. So, you see a band like Kiss, you have to surmise that that's a big fucking deal for them to go on tour. And then Paul Stanley gets sick, and then everything's shut down. I mean, and there's people, I'm sure, that their whole livelihoods are contingent on this. What's that feel like? You guys even have a COVID specialist, which to me sounds like Mark Cuban's making some money somewhere. But like, I understand, like, it has to be a thing because you have these multi-million-dollar productions happening. What's the atmosphere like, knowing that's how it's going to happen?
Well, even before COVID, we were very militaristic about how we did things. So we've always had a backup to the backup to the backup. So there's 2 or 3 substitutes that can come in. That's always kind of been there. And there's nothing different except that knowledge that perhaps that might have to be called in if necessary. Of course, we don't necessarily want that, but yeah. So I mean, we're overly prepared. I really love this organization for that they are, like I said, a backup to the backup to the backup. I never really heard that concept till I met Paul O'Neill, the creator of TSO, and they also have the money to be able to have those kinds of insurances. So. But I'm glad that I'm in the position that I'm in, that I'm not the substitute.
Yeah, but absolutely.
I've been the substitute before, and if you ever get a chance to be a substitute, going back to the motivation thing, definitely go in there and show your value. And, because of circumstances, your time might come,
Absolutely. That's the solid advice, 100%. Yeah, I can relate to that.
Yes. Let us all be waiting in the wings for something. Then we can put on a show. That's what we've always wanted to do.
Well, I'm so happy to hear, that the tour's happening and that you're so busy and doing all sorts of things. And really, I mean, I guess to wrap up the episode, it was just like such a pleasure to have you. I really appreciate that Benny sold you on our podcast, because that's probably the first.
No, actually, I can't believe that you actually appreciate it. I feel like that's passive aggressivity, because now we're going to have to go have a meeting afterwards. And then Scott's going to be like, wait, did he actually say he came on because of Ben? And then Cory's going to be like, ugh.
No, he genuinely sent me a message, and I was like, wow, this is great. And I was amazed. I was like, thank you for listening to so many episodes.
Like when you text things, Benny, that you've texted in the past, and you're like, I hope that never comes up again from the cloud or something, And Siobhán actually has this rumored text. I know the word genius was in there, maybe your cohorts might not
I
agree.
can tell you, on the other side of that I've literally hassled her. I'm like, weren't you in Trans-Siberian Orchestra? Don't you know all these people? Aren't you friends with them? Isn't this intense? Why can't they be on the show? What do you mean they want you to talk to the management? Aren't you talking to them? Just circumvent. Don't let them sell you a no. Like Glenn Ross shit. And she's just like, but that's so aggressive. Like, yes, exactly.
Yeah, I guess I learned my lesson.
And here you are.
Yes. Great job, Siobhán.
Thank you. So I'm so glad it all happened. The stars
Standing
aligned.
O for Siobhán Cronin. Everybody stands up. You've added value to our lives today, Siobhán.
I did. I brought a guest to the podcast so you all can thank me.
And once again, we appreciate you coming to hang out. Check out roddychong.com and check him out with TSO. Probably when this episode comes out, he's going to be on tour. So,
for those that don't know, Trans-Siberian Orchestra is a money-making, virtuoso, rock and roll, classical, Christmassy, lasers, lights, and fog and fire machine with the guys from Savatage. So if you're like, oh, that sounds like... No! It's the 80s band Savatage with a bunch of other people because they're like in multiple places at once, like neutrinos, and they're just playing Christmas music, but with metal and lasers and lights, and it's ridiculous. So you should see it. It's great.
Absolutely.
Trans-Siberian Orchestra is awesome.
For the whole family.
Absolutely. Even
for the Jews. If you're celebrating Hanukkah, we love that shit too. Lasers and lights, it's awesome.
-d.com. We'll see you on the next one.
Good, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And there's never, I've never had a backup plan. I mean, it's this or nothing, Mm-hmm. I mean, the shit has got bad too over the last, when the economy crashed and all that shit back in like 2013 or 2012. And, it hit me hard because I went from teaching like 56 students a week.
Oh my God, that's a lot.
Yeah, it was 56 students in a day, Monday through Friday, and then it's out like 6 on Saturday. And I went from making a lot of money, over $100,000 a year, between teaching and royalties from records and guitars and pedals and magazine columns that I was writing for, to all of a sudden that shit dried up and I went to like 18 students and I still had the expenses of when I had the big money. I mean,
oh my God.
I had an H2 and it got repossessed 1 month before it was paid off. So I had to go take out a loan that I could never pay back to this day and to get my Hummer back to pay it off the next month. You know what I mean? And it's like, dude, it was bad. It was like I was 1 foot away from being under the bridge.